What are the biggest mistakes you've made on the first day of shooting?
I think some of the biggest mistakes I've made on the first day of shooting usually pertain to interpersonal things. At this point, I kind of know what I need to do to get something done technically. I know the story. I know all of the different pieces that I need to deploy to hopefully have a good film. And the first day obviously sets the tone for many of those things, right? You have sometimes people you've worked with hundreds of times, and then sometimes you've got people that are brand new that you've never seen before. And so when you're doing that, I think you have to figure out how those relationships that you have existing are going to mesh with those that are new. And so it's figuring out the interpersonal dynamics of how these people tick, what makes them tick, deciding what they think is funny or not funny. Things like that, because that tone you set on your set on the first day, it does not matter what the film is, it can be anything you're shooting, an ad, a documentary, film, whatever. That is going to set the tone with that person that doesn't know you for the rest of the shoot. And if you blow that, and I have before, by misjudging someone and kind of what they, how they feel about things, whatever it may be, it's then got to be work on you to get that back, to get them back. And so I think that may be, for me personally, the most, that's something I messed up before. I try to do better about now.
Well, and that's big of you to admit that you misjudge, but there are also people that look for challenge. And they see someone in charge or whatever, and whatever they're dealing with, and they're like, no, I'm going to be the thorn in the side for this one.
Sure,
and
some people definitely have that. I try to meet as many people as possible across as many departments as possible before shooting something to kind of get a sense of people and how they are. And if there's someone that I think is so egregious, I'll talk to a department head and say, let's cut this person. I've done it.
Sure.
And so, that tone and climate in a set to me is very important. And it starts at the top. It starts with me. If you set a good tone, if you set a good atmosphere for your cast, for your crew, typically, even if you are working on a lower budget or if someone's not being paid as well, whatever it is, they will work better because they like the space they're in. And so it is on me as director to set that tone. If I'm heinous or if I come in with a bad attitude, that trickles down very fast. And so it's really my job to figure out what makes my crew and my cast tick. And once I understand the dynamics of that, then I have a lot more latitude to do the things as I want.
I don't know if I would really see you being the one. I'll just say that, but I'm sure that there are.
I'm sure there are people that have worked with me that don't like me. It happens. Everyone has.
But sometimes people don't like someone for something that's not the person's fault.
That's true.
So and I'll be the one to say that. So if you can sense someone is trying to whatever, they want to be the director and they are kind of like coming from the side and doing things, what's the best way to diffuse some of that? Without having to call a department head and send them home. Are there ways with humor, maybe not humor, to get them to respect you?
Well, I try to figure out what, again, makes that person tick. And sometimes it's just identifying little things like they need this thing in craft services, right? It's sometimes figuring out that they love this type of coffee and having a PA go get it for them, whatever it may be. It's sometimes just little things. It's observations, right? So even a little observation like that can go a long way to make someone feel wanted and needed on a set, because I think that when people want to take charge, it's not usually because they're a dominating bully on the set. It can be. Usually it's because they think you're not competent. I think that usually that's the reason that people try to do that. And so if you display competency, if you're calm, if you know what you want to do, this may be shocking to you, but I'm usually not hot-headed. And so I keep a very even tone, even with myself. Even if I'm not in a good mood or if I'm tired or whatever it is, I try not to project that onto the set because I know that will then trickle down. So I try to find the things that that person needs to feel comfortable on set, even if it's a creature comfort like a coffee or a crafty thing. But then it's also just making sure that they understand that I understand what I'm doing. I've been very lucky that I haven't had that happen recently, but earlier in my career, for sure, I definitely had to deal with that. With actors and people working on the film, for sure. And I've learned from those lessons and know that I have to make sure my shit's together before I can tell all these people what to do and how to do.